Hey, good afternoon. I'm glad you're in class today. Please make sure that you are on page 537. Pause, think about what you're doing right now, and make sure you are showing this substitute the respect they deserve. I'm sure you are, and I'm so excited to reward you for that. If you're not, please fix whatever you're doing immediately. Okay, let's get started. I'm on page 537. Take 10 seconds and read number 1 silently to yourself so that we can see what this whole problem is about to be about. 10 seconds. All right, you read it to yourself. Now here's what I suggest. Let's do some annotating. What is this whole problem about? How can we highlight or mark or annotate? What should we do? A water tank holds 100 gallons of water. If you think it's necessary, if you think it would help you, maybe just draw a quick little sketch of that water tank. I know that helped me. The tank is leaking at a rate of 2 gallons a minute. So apparently it's got some water in there, but it's leaking. There's a little crack in that tank. It's leaking at a rate of, here's my little drop of water, each minute 2 gallons are coming out of that tank. So 2 gallons per minute. This is just me giving myself a visual to help make sense of what this problem is telling me. Determine the number of gallons of water that will be left in the tank if the leak continues for. So here we go. I want to know if this tank has 100 gallons. So if it's full, it holds 100 gallons. It's leaking 2 gallons each minute. How much will be left after A, 1 minute? Stop and see if you can strategize a little plan. I'll give you about 5 seconds, and then let's see if you're right. All right, let's check it out. I know it's got 100 gallons in there. And I know that every minute water is coming out of the tank. That's going to be subtraction. And I know that each minute water is coming out 2 gallons each minute. So after 1 minute, 2 gallons will be leaving that tank. That's my multiplication. 1 minute, 2 gallons fewer. Well, that's going to look like this. 100 gallons were in there, minus 2 gallons. I want to stick with expressions right now, so I'm not going to put equals 98 right here. I'm just going to simplify my expression. There will be 98 gallons in the tank. Pause this video and try letter B. Okay, let's see how you did on letter B. How many gallons will be in the tank if this keeps happening but for 10 minutes? Each minute, 2 gallons comes out of this tank. How much will be in the tank 10 minutes later? Well, again, we had 100 gallons. 10 minutes goes by. After 10, let me fix that. 2 gallons are coming out each minute, and instead of 1 minute passing like this one, 10 minutes have passed. So I'm multiplying this time 2 by 10. 2 gallons, 10 minutes. 2 gallons per minute for 10 minutes. That means now I'm going to have 100 minus, this time, 20 gallons have left this tank. So 100 minus 20 will leave me with 80 gallons remaining. Try again, follow that process, and do both letters C and D. Pause the video to see if you got both C and D correct. All right, let's check how you did on letter C. Letter C, I had 100 gallons. I am subtracting 2 gallons per minute. 34 minutes have passed, which means I have 100 minus 68. This tank has lost 68 gallons. It started with 100. That means the leftover, what's left in the tank, is 32 gallons. Last one, number 25. I had 100 gallons in the tank, and every minute 2 gallons came out. Well, that occurred over and over and over for 25 minutes. That means 100 minus 50. After 25 minutes, I only have 50 gallons left in the tank. Number 2, before you go there, look back at your answers and look at how you got these answers each time. Look at what this very first line is. What does this line represent? Look at this one. What do you call this? Is this an expression or an equation? Is it algebraic or is it numeric? Well, believe it or not, you wrote a numeric expression each time to get your answer. So number 2 says, describe how you calculated each answer. Pause this video and answer number 2. Okay, let's see how you did. Describe how you calculated each answer. Look what I did over and over. You're a mathematician. You can see a pattern. Each time, I started with 100 gallons. I multiplied the number of minutes by 2. Notice we did that first each time. We didn't subtract first. We multiplied first. Multiplied the number of minutes by 2, then subtracted from 100. That was the pattern that you found. You did that each time. Remember yesterday, we talked about taking big, long phrases like this and condensing them to mathematical expressions? Look at what I could have done. Instead of saying, multiply the number of minutes by 2, then subtract the product from 100. I wonder if you could figure out a way to write that the way a mathematician would. Pause the video and try it. That's what number 3 is saying. Okay, let's see how you did. If you did that correctly, then this is what you wrote. Multiply the number of minutes by 2. Well, I don't know how many minutes it's going to be each time, so minutes will be my variable. T for time, or M for minutes, or X, whatever you choose. And each time, this got subtracted from 100. Look how this expression matches what I did each time. Number of minutes times 2 from 100. You just did this second part, right, in algebraic expression, but let's not skip this first part. Define a variable. I chose t, so I need to define what t represents. T is the variable I chose, and it represents number of minutes. The tank is leaking. Good. If you're done with that page, turn the page and meet me on page 538. How long will it take for the tank to be empty? Explain your reasoning. Well, look at what that expression was that we just wrote. We just wrote that we would take 100 and subtract 2 times the number of minutes. Well, we want to know, when is this going to be empty? In other words, when will 100 minus 2 times something give me 0? Now it's more like an equation. I want to know when there will be nothing left in that tank. Well, what would I have to multiply 2 by in order to take that number, subtract it from 100, and get 0? Think. You are correct if you said that this number would have to be 50. 50 times 2 minus subtracted from 100 would give you an empty tank. So the question says, how long will it take? 50 minutes. Now very quickly, take all that information we just did and we're going to place it in this table. I can show my answers from those word problems, but I can also show them from a table. So look what we just discovered. If you flip back, you'll see, flip this paper back. Go ahead. Good. You'll see that after 1 minute, our answer was that there would still be 98 gallons in that tank. After 10 minutes, we saw there would be 80 gallons in that tank. Please finish this table, pause the video, and fill it in. Good. If you finished it correctly, then don't skip it. Make sure you put 50 here. This one, there would be 32 gallons, and after 50 minutes, 0. Look at what a nice, neat, organized way this is to display that information that we just discovered. Take your highlighter and highlight the word table. You just created a table from that information. Now, let's take this information and show another way to represent that data, another way to show our information. I can construct a graph. Highlight the word graph. Now, you've done this before. We even did this in the first semester. We just need a little bit more practice with it. If I want to take this table and create a graph, the first thing I should think about is my axes. Remember, this is your x-axis and this is your y-axis. Well, think about which one of these is my independent variable. Which one of these is my dependent variable? Whichever one is my independent, that'll be the x. That's what I'll write down here, horizontal. Whichever one is my dependent variable, that's going to be y. That's what I'll write vertically. Pause and think, which one of these depends on the other? Okay, you got it right. If you realize that the time in minutes is my independent variable. That's why x is time, and we measured that in minutes. The dependent variable was the number of gallons remaining in the tank. So my y-axis, those numbers will be, let me turn my page, gallons. And we need to leave room for our quantities. Look at your table. My time goes from 1 to 50. I am not, if you remember from the first semester, going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I won't make it to 50. So stop and think, what could you count by? 5s is correct. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. Now do the same thing for your y-axis. Look at your numbers. They go from 0 all the way to almost 100. So stop and think, what should you count by? Believe it or not, this time, oh, I'm so sorry, I have to apologize, I said this wrong. We didn't count by 5s here, we counted by 2.5. This time, I'm not going to count by 5s, I'm going to count by, I'm counting by 5s. I'm not going to put 5, 10, 15, 20, it'll be too crowded. So I'll put every other value. This would be 10. Here's 0, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Keep going until you get to the value that we need. My highest value was 98, so I can stop at 100. All right, let's take that table and plot those points. You remember how to do this, just like when you played Battleship with your friends. Here we go. These are my y values. These are my x values. I'm going to do the first one with you. When x is 1, y is 98. Look at how that would be on a graph. When x is 1, well, this is 5, and this is 2.5. So 1 would be way over here somewhere. Y is all the way up here at almost 100. Bigger than 90, bigger than 95, 98. You should put a dot right there. Please finish the graph with the other values from the table. Pause the video, see if you do that correctly. If you did that correctly, then your second point is at 1080. That's right here. Your third point is at 2550. Here's 25, and here is 50. Your fourth point is at 3432. You got to estimate that one. When x is 34, that's about here. Oh, sorry, you can't see that. When x is 34, y is about 32. You have to estimate that one too. So that's going to be, here's 30, 32, around there. And last, when x is 0, that means right here on this x-axis, y is 50, right there. Look at this question. Would it make sense to connect the points on this graph? Explain why or why not. Stop and think. Would it make sense for me to draw a line through these points? Remember, we talked about this. If I can say that you can have 2/5 of a minute and 2/5 of a gallon, then yeah, I can connect those points. Well, can you have a fraction of a minute? Yes. Can you have a fraction of a gallon? Yes. That's the reason I can draw a line through these values.